bear said it, killed the bear barehanded so the people won't forget it. Getting money for I was legal to drink. I care what a broke nigga think.
Just like the pack of Lewis.
Look, everything I do so cold. I can do this, both eyes closed. Too short, I stay on my toes. About that guap boy, anything goes. Help the bear if we outside. Help the bear if we outside. Still tipping, baby, nothing changed. We still grinding over here, yeah. Still sliding through my own lane. Shorty, nothing funny over here. Dallas rain everywhere around me. Dream to get money. Made it through the storm, living sunny. Dreams came true, now we eating. I got more dreams to chase, gotta reach them. Trying to put a team together like the Hunger Games. Everybody grind together, we all came from hunger pain.
You best believe it. You know what it is. Late Ill Kid at OneYoungsta holding it down. Bringing the Street Geek and Nerd Soul. What is up, my people? Today, all year, coming with another wonderful episode of, that's right, man, On Screen. Talking about the live action television, television, whether it's on the movies, or if it's people, we talk about it, all right? And we're getting into some Doom Patrol today, so I'd like to welcome you to the show. Go in and hit all the buttons below, just hit them all. Just click them all. If you're on your phone, hit them all. If you're on your computer, click them all. Now, before we get started, right over here, esteemed gentleman, a cinematic sorcerer, if you will, I'd like to present to you Solar Gray.
Hello, everyone. This is Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And I am looking forward to today.
Okay.
Hang on, one out for RJ. All right, cool.
This is, you know what? All right. Normally, you see all four of us. Sometimes it's rarely for this show. It's rarely just me. It's usually myself, of course, Solar Gray, Hannibal Taboo, and RJ. Big shouts to both of them. They couldn't make it in today, but Hannibal might be able to make it in. Not sure, but if you can make it in, what's up? But shout out to RJ. Now, before we get started, because this was a rough episode for me. But I will say on a positive note that I really wish I could have made a pillow fort this dope when I was little. Like, because that pillow fort was mad sweet.
Bruh, for real.
That was the best pillow fort ever.
That wasn't
it's
a
like
pillow
you walk
fort.
in, you're like, oh, this is nice.
I was expecting like belly dancers and sheiks to be all up in there.
When you can list your pillow fort on Zillow, that's when you know. That's when you know you made it.
Oh yeah, well, real talk, in LA, that particular pillow fort would have gone for about $1,200 a month. They would have wanted another $500 if there was a bathroom in it.
Oh man, that LA, it's tough out here, y'all. So big shout out to Malcolm Lee and Perp Minded. Malcolm Lee comes in with a comment super early saying, finally saw this episode, multiple themes. Cliff's progression was great. It was an episode of closure with dual sides of the characters. So I want to start off with that comment. How do you feel about that comment, Solar? Because, I too think we gotta, it's weird. On one hand, I feel like we get closure like every time we turn around. I'm like, you know what? We got closure. And then something else happened. I'm like, no, I guess we didn't get closure.
Yeah. So I wouldn't quite say closure.
Okay.
Is the magical word. We got progression.
Yes.
We got acceptance.
Yes.
What I gotta say on that is like, how can I put it? You got all the characters that are doing their thing. And let me put it out right there. This is my favorite episode of the show so far.
Wow.
All 3 seasons. This is number 1.
Okay.
Now, we've often said that the Doom Patrol is about a bunch of broken people getting their stuff together. It's like Black Snake Moan with costumes.
Oh Lord.
But the fact of the matter is, Cliff didn't get closure in the traditional sense. Cliff made a step.
Okay.
He made a step. It was a step in the direction that he needed to go. But
Definitely.
it was still just a step. He got a long way to go. Like, let's take a look at everything that happened in that in that episode, just to Cliff. Okay, he had to come to terms with his terminal disease.
Yeah.
He had to face up not just to his past actions, specifically with leaving little girl in the car, but why?
Definitely. When that part, I was like, yo.
Yeah, I got some flashbacks myself.
You really have a problem.
Yeah, I had some flashbacks because many times have I been that kid in the car. And him talking, like, number one, I like the subconscious talking to the conscious. That's, you know, when I heard that this was the sisterhood of Dada, I'm like, oh man, strap in, get a blanket, get some cocoa.
It's about to get weird.
Not weird. This is about to get painful.
Well, it was still weird at first.
Oh yeah,
like,
I mean,
and then you were
I'm
like,
not saying it wasn't weird. Okay, I'm not saying it wasn't weird, but Dadaism, the art form, the art movement, was literally just that. It was, we're gonna make things so weird that the only thing that you'll be able to tolerate looking at is yourself. Everything else is going to be so messed up that the only place you're going to be able to find any kind of solid ground to stand on
so are we
you.
Flagellating now? No.
Huh? That's the thing.
He was like, are we flagellating now?
Yeah. And that was the whole thing. Like, flagellation is the practice specifically done by certain sectors of the Catholic Church of beating your own booty until you realize what you did. And the fact of facing your stuff head on with no hiding, no defense mechanisms, no excuses, that's the most painful thing a person can do. And it's reflected a lot in mythology and fairy tales. The one that hit me was the magic mirror gate, or the 3 gates to the Southern Oracle in the Never-Ending Story.
Oh, okay.
You know, when you had to walk through the first one, but it would destroy you if you don't believe in yourself. And then you had to go to the magic mirror gate, which shows you who you really are. Not who you think you are. Not who other people see you as, but who you are at your core.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all about that. I'm all about that. And as a sorcerer, I've had to go through that. Like, I have to go through that kind of thing monthly. Okay. Like, monthly.
Yeah.
You know, because
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's all about knowing yourself. And truth, as a parent, you got to go through that about every 2 months. You know, when the kid does something and it's like, where did you learn how to do? Oh, wait. Yeah, no. I see why he does that.
I learned it from you, Dad.
I learned it by watching you. Yeah, exactly. So back to Cliff. Okay. Like, we know that every member of the Doom Patrol has a life that can be summed up in 2 words: hot mess.
Yeah.
Okay? Each one of them are just messed up. Cyborg being the most well-adjusted, but still a mess. You know, all of them are just messed up. And Cliff is the example of the person whose life is a hot mess. Like, He believes there is a diamond at the bottom of a cesspool. Seriously. And
Yeah,
all
it's like
he
he won't
does
stop.
is just swim through all that crap looking for that diamond that's not down there, with the strippers and the drugs and the infidelity and the credit card theft, and he's just going through all this crap that he's putting himself through, looking to feel like a king. And
Yeah,
this
because I mean,
episode,
he broke it down. He was like, "Hey,
yeah,
when I was coming up, you know, future
I had
wasn't too
nothing.
bright.
Yeah,
Future wasn't too bright. Didn't have anything, and I was good at racing. People started treating me like a king, and I started liking it. And actually, Lady Lisa and I were talking about the behavior of like athletes just in the school system in general, like the stuff. Like I played sports, the stuff I've seen people get away with, like like the team stars and stuff. The things where it's like, oh, don't worry about the test, don't worry about this, getting out
yeah,
early, doing what they want if they get in trouble, or even on a collegiate level. uh, I'll say this for the court: this is hearsay because I was not there, but I've heard about numerous occasions where team members or the whole team might get in a fight,
mm-hmm.
and then the local police will just clean it up, and somehow, you know, this group of people get arrested, but nobody on the school's team gets
Oh,
arrested.
the championship game is this weekend. No, nothing happened. He fell.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's like, so it's those kind of things. He's like, hey, I was good at racing. Then all of a sudden, people treated me like I was special, and I like
Mhm.
being treated special. I mean, who doesn't? Like,
Right.
look, I like this. And just talking about how it fed, basically fed a different beast, and he became
It turned
became
him
that
into a
guy.
monster,
Yeah,
and
because you got your kid in the car while a lady is jumping out of a cake,
yeah,
and I was just like, oh man. And then of course you're surrounded by all of these like pseudo friends. Dude was talking about like, hey, you've been with my wife, but then at the
riders.
same time, yeah,
Yeah.
so this moment for him was something that it's weird. He needed this, like just like he needed that moment with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those things that really was tough for me to watch because it hurt for me to see this happen to the characters.
I'm
It
laughing
did.
because yeah. Last week, pre-show, when I was like, I sat up in my chair and I started clapping with glee. I think I squeed. When I saw the bumper for this one. I'm like, oh my God, this is the episode where they get to look at their subconsciouses and they have to face their issues head on. Yes. Because I'm all
But it's like I
about
feel like they've been facing their issues head on since they got here.
by regular-ish standards, yeah. We've talked about
Yeah.
how Doom Patrol is a lot like therapy. Okay, it's a
Yeah.
bunch of people getting their heads together, and therapy moves in steps.
True.
It's like
True.
you got to get comfortable with the therapist, then you got to get comfortable with what you're willing to talk about, and then like if it starts working behind your back. Like, nah, I don't need that. Nah. And then you're sleeping better than you ever had, and then, so little bitty steps. But then comes that day, that breakthrough, that moment in Goodwill Hunting where it's like, it's not your fault. Don't mess with me, man. It's not your fault. No, man, don't do that. It's not your fault. No, not you, Sean. That part. And that's what this episode was. The thing is, once that breakthrough happens, then you got to clean up the mess of all the rubble,
Yeah.
and that's the part that most stories skip over. This
Yeah,
episode
this
was
is
a
not
breakthrough.
letting you. This show doesn't let you just kind of like place the last episode or something that happened.
No.
Just don't worry about that. We're just moving on. It's like no.
Nah, son. This is not an ABC sitcom where you
Nah.
get the little talk from dad and the piano music goes off, and next episode it's like nothing ever happened.
Even though shouts to the new Wonder Years and shouts to the show called For Life.
You
Shouts to
finally
those
watched
two
it.
shows. Shouts to
You
those
finally
two
watched
shows.
the new Wonder Years.
I've
was-
been watching it, but I just haven't been covering it. I'm gonna wait to the end of the season.
Bro, I went
but yeah.
in. I went into that one like I went into Star Trek: The Next Generation when it came out, where
Mhm.
I'm like, "What is this? What is this stupid CG? Who's this bald captain? You ain't my Kirk." And so I went into Wonder Years going, "Oh, great, Wonder Years, but black." You know what? We already saw Everybody Hates Chris. I don't really need to. And then I watched the show, and I'm just like, "Oh,
You see the first episode and you're like, okay,
all right, I'm
respect.
in."
You know,
I'm like,
respect.
okay, wait,
Then you
where
see the
they
second
at?
episode and you're like, all right, respect.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, but that's a different show. That's a different show. We're here to talk about Doom
Now,
Patrol.
Speaking,
We can't afford the tangents.
So we talked about Cliff for a second. I did want to bring up. Okay, you know I love this show. I wouldn't cover the show if I didn't like it, y'all. For real. You know I don't cover stuff that I don't like because I don't want to be wasting my time or yours. You can go find somebody who's enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna need the casting department to do just a little bit more due diligence. All right, because the child cyborg.
Oh.
I was like, who this? I was like, he got a brother?
Now, all right. The child Vic. The child Vic, honestly, it did feel like a favor casting.
Like,
You know,
I was like,
it felt like a favor.
Who is this
But the
urban
thing
youth?
was, there wasn't much in the script for him to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Like-
I mean, we need a black kid to get yelled at by a store clerk, and then, you know, we need somebody to stand there while Phil Morris goes to work.
Yeah.
You know, because man, again, every time I see Phil Morris at like a convention or something, or you know, I'll see him on like a DC Online event, I'm like, bruh.
Yeah,
Bruh.
he's that dude for real. Like, he's on point. Like, I ain't going for it. Like,
Truth, he was
so-
my favorite part of Smallville. And then seeing him as Silas Stone, I'm like,
Silas
Okay.
Stone, he's done a good job. Man.
Okay.
Like, I
Man.
really enjoy their relationship.
yeah,
But-
but again, you can see he got kids. And so
Yeah.
you see not Silas Stone, but you see Black Father coming out in almost every scene he does. You know, you
Mhm.
see Black Papa. You know,
And the thing that I enjoyed about the whole was it General Troy? Was it General Troy?
yeah.
The thing I love. Oh, and that actor's dope. But
Was that Ozzie
the-
Davis? Because he was made up to look like Ozzie Davis.
yeah, so I thought that's who it was. But I like the scene that we get when Cyborg wakes up and he has his regular body, or original body. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because you do get that look on his face like, oh, okay, so this is all right. I guess this is what I wanted. You know, like, because it's one of those things when
It's bittersweet.
yeah, it's like, hey, you know, I want it so bad, or I want it so bad, and then you get it, and you're like, oh well, maybe I shouldn't have had this. Maybe you know, it's one of those things, and
There was a little bit of buyer's
just
remorse.
His posture, yeah, just his posture, his facial expressions. I was like, that's real. That's real for him to leave that.
And he's
And-
British. He's a British actor, so I expect nothing less.
His aspect,
You know.
but
Bro,
that,
they have college courses for the craft in British acting schools just for accents.
wow.
Just for accents. We're talking like 4-hour classes. Like, okay, now let's
Wow.
work on our California this place. Let's work on our Boston this neighborhood. So,
Ooh.
you know, they work. They work.
Okay.
They do the job. It makes me sad about America because we go for looks over talent, and in the UK and Australia they go for talent. Looks are a bonus, and then they come over here, they get pretty, and they spend like 9 hours in the gym, but they got that craft. You
And
know
they
what I
come over
mean?
here, they get pretty.
Well, they do. I mean, watch some BBC stuff, and you'll see regular ass
Yeah,
looking people
you're right.
just
And
working.
BBC got like your regular dude that's like the
Mhm.
mechanic. It's,
But
it
you keep
ain't no
tuning
like,
in.
but
You know.
they'll come over here, they'll get that Kardashian doctor. Oh, cause
No,
whoever
only
hooked
the
that
prettiest
family
of the
up,
prettiest over
whoever hooked
there.
that family up works miracles. That's all I'm gonna
Yeah.
say. 'Cause
Yeah,
when you look at those
no, they,
OG photos, I'm just saying, you look at them OG photos, that doctor does deserve every penny. Like
money is
I'm
money.
gonna tell you the
Money is
truth.
money, and you can buy quality with money. Um, but speaking of Cyborg, this episode, like, if I were the kind to pirate stuff, if I was the kind to download stuff, I would download this if I were the kind to do this. Okay, I don't do this because I don't have a good enough VPN. But real talk, I would download this episode and splice together Cyborg's entire story for every time I talk to one of my white friends that want to be an ally. From that moment in the store, and like Cliff's thing was about wanting to be a king, and Cyborg, and I know this made every single one of us at least misty up manly tear style about losing his childhood. It showed how black children are forced to grow up at 11,
Yep.
because the world don't let us be kids. And I'm just like, they didn't just say it, they showed it, and then they said it. And it's like, can you hear me in the back? I lost my childhood. I'm like, yeah, because, looking back on stuff, I had it rough, but not as rough as I coulda, and I had a childhood, but it was a lot of code switching. It was childhood to well-behaved black dude, childhood to black man. We even call we call our sons Lil Man. He goes from Lil Man to boy, and that dichotomy, like, it was shown in the script and in the direction with Cyborg to show how traumatizing that is.
Yeah, and funny, I've been watching For Life on Hulu, and there's this episode where two characters talk about their first, incident where they recognized what racism was, and one was like, I was 8, and the other one, I think he said he was like 11 or something like that. And for me, I was like 8 or 9, and but it's that moment is real, where it's like, yo, I didn't want to be a soldier, I want to be a kid. But then you was it Fonte from Little Brother said, we can't afford to raise kids, now we got to raise soldiers. So it's like, and I mean, even I look at my son, and I'm like, the pure innocence is like, I know it can't stay. And I was talking to my real talk. I was talking to my father last week, I think. And he said, I watched that happen to you and it hurt me, but you become a good man. You know what I'm saying? So it's that thing where you see this kid that's just like excited and happy.
He just wanted a toy. Yeah.
And then you just like, the world is going to happen to him. And it's like, it's like, you're just looking like, man, because you can't stop it. It's not like, you can't like be like, stop, y'all. All right, everybody, calm it down.
That's the cost of parenthood. Now, Larry, I gotta say, like, if you want an example of what it really looks like to go through therapy and make progress, let's talk
and make
Larry.
progress.
Serious. Like,
Larry's
he's
come a
the only
long way.
one that
He
doesn't
really
fight
has.
it. Yeah, he's the only one that doesn't fight it. You know?
Yeah, Larry has come a long way.
You know, and in this episode, like, when he's sitting up and he's talking with his subconscious, that's why he got the beautiful resolution. You know, he got the real pretty flagellation. The conversation with his mom, I was like, yeah, that's about how that happens. I've seen that 100 times. But his recollection with himself was like, okay, all right, yeah. I mean, Brendan Fraser wrapped it up and he was like, man, that was beautiful. That was beautiful, you know. But really, once again, Jane, man,
that whole thing, we were talking about the underground. We were talking about the underground last time. And I was like, oh, it'll probably come to a head maybe at the end of this season or maybe around the beginning of next season. Huge changes. If what happens on this episode sticks, or if it's like some kind of subconscious mess where like it kind of happened, but it didn't. But for all intents and purposes, everybody gone.
Well, it was interesting because I watched this episode with my girl, and she plays video games when we're watching stuff. So she'll like look up and start asking me questions, and I'm like, no. Jane's body is Kay's body. That's just what she's gonna grow up to look like. That's just her. However, the big thing with Jane is she is being the caretaker, being the one that's up above most often. She's the one that has aged with the world psychologically. She's like Brad Pitt's character in Interview with a Vampire, who lives amongst people and keeps up with the times.
It keeps up with the times.
Keep in mind, no member of the Doom Patrol is under 60. Like,
you keep forgetting
all of them are
they
really
look
old.
young.
You know,
but they're actually like 70, 80 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
100 years old or whatever.
I think the oldest one is Niles, but Dorothy is second, and Danny Street might be third. But really, of the main cast, I mean, Rita happened in the 1940s. So she was 20 in the 1940s. It's been 80 years. She's 100 years old, man.
Yeah.
You know.
Pretty spry for 100. Not too bad. I mean, still has good knees. She's not, her back isn't, like all like.
Well, sometimes she does fall apart.
yeah. You're right. You're right. Sometimes she does fall apart.
But yeah, so but when Kay and Jane's body is like, I don't want any of you here. I hope you all. I want you all to die. Part of me was like, ow, and then the other part of me went, oh my God, she's a teenager now.
Yep. Like she's coming into another realization
fast.
now.
Yeah. It's just like that all hurt, but I really like the angle that it took when Jane went back to the underground and she was like, certain things were said. And I'm like, of course, that's the real argument, because you've got Larry fighting back against his subconscious but coming to terms with it, and then you've got Cyborg finally admitting the realization that he pushes down in order to keep going, and then you've got Cliff fighting against his subconscious while his subconscious is going, no, seriously, look at this. But then you got Jane, whose subconscious is fighting against her. And I'm like, okay, well done. Well done. Like, her conscious mind knows what's up, but she's the most damaged of all of them.
Yeah, because of having to kind of fight externally and internally, but fighting internally in a very different way.
Yeah. And so
but I love
she
how
had
this
that
show
thing, yeah.
gives you an opportunity to see it. It's like, hey, look, if you're going through trauma, any type of trauma, we've got your version here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got if you're not a Jane, you're a Larry. If you're not a Larry, you're a Cliff. You're not a Cliff. it's like we got everything for you. You're not a Cliff.
Man,
you're a Rita.
Cliff's use of the F-bomb is, oh my God, it is Deadwood quality use of language.
I love it because nobody even reacts to it. I mean, they sort of reacted to it this episode, but they're just like, that's Cliff. You know,
Yeah.
It's Cliff. There's nothing we can do about him.
Well, what got me was when he was yelling at his subconscious, and his subconscious is like, look, just admit that you've been tanking your own life for your entire life. And the party's got to end. You know this. I know this. So you know this. You just got to admit it. And then when they go back in and it's like, well, screw you, screw you, screw you. That last screw you, I heard, yeah, I know. And I've been there. I have been there. I talk about my mentors a lot. Mm-hmm. And when I was just a young wizard's apprentice, I was lonely and I wanted a girlfriend and all that jazz. You know, I was like 19 or so.
So lonely.
And, yeah, exactly. Now I was like LL Cool J. I need love. Yeah. Yeah, I should have been more like Busta Rhymes doing Kung Fu against Michael Myers, but and my mentor said, bruh, if you met this woman that you were dreaming about, who's smart and funny and independent and who's strong and who can do Kung Fu and blah, 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 everything that you wanted, yeah? Would she want anything to do with you? And I could have just sprouted brass because I was like, screw you, because I knew the answer to that question, and I knew he was right. You know, that's the whole thing. It was, I knew that I wasn't up to par for the stuff that I wanted, and it was time for me to get my crap together. You know. And that was that whole thing with Cliff. And I'm just like, man, well done. Like, again, this is my favorite episode so far. Jane's revelation after Kay was like, I want you to die. And she trashed the tree for it. Or she trashed the pillow for it.
Yeah. And the way she trashed it was emotional and visceral, and going off of what Perp Minded said, everything with Jane was heartbreaking. And like, you know, that this whole episode was just, it's weird. It's what it, like we talk about movies. This is a good episode. This episode is great. I don't know if I want to watch it again. But this episode was great. You know what I'm saying? This episode was great. I have
watched it again,
but that moment when Vic is like, I wanted to be a kid. It's like my first I think I talked about it. I talked about it a while back, maybe on another podcast. But my first instance, we had moved to a new neighborhood, and I was riding around my new neighborhood on my new bike. And I felt so good. I was like, wow, we moved. And like when we moved, we had a 2-story house. Now, all right, flow with me for a second.
Mm-hmm.
We had never lived in a 2-story house. We were coming from, it was, you know, just 1-story houses, there's ranchers everywhere, right? So when we got to a 2-story house, the only Black family I knew of that had a 2-story house were the Cosbys. So in my mind, we made it. Yo, look, we got 2-story, we got steps. So I'm riding around my neighborhood. I'm feeling good.
So this is pre-Fresh Prince. Got you.
Yeah, this is pre-Fresh. So I ride my bike around the neighborhood.
I never realized that. I'm like, wait a minute. Good Times, they had an apartment. Jefferson's only had a 1-story, but it was a penthouse.
Yeah, it was a penthouse.
Um, yeah, and I'm like, well, didn't they have a two-story house in Family Matters? No, they didn't. Like,
Yeah,
oh
they did.
man,
Yeah, they did. But that was
they
later.
did.
That was after the Cosby Show.
Okay, yeah. So
So
by the time the Cosby Show came on, yeah, I mean that there was well, there weren't that many black shows before the
yeah.
Cosby Show.
So it's like
So yeah, we had Good
I'm
Times. No, wait, they had a second story house on What's Happening.
they did. Yeah, but I was that was before my time though.
I keep
So
forgetting. I'm a bit
yeah.
older than you. Okay.
So I'm like 8 or 9 years old, riding my bike, living it up, just loving things, right? I'm like, yo, this is my new neighborhood. Everything's great, and it's a beautiful day. All of a sudden, a truck full of white guys pull up behind me, yelling and screaming. I don't know what's going on, but I'm riding on the side of the road, so I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know why they're not passing me. But they're yelling at me, screaming it. One of them throws a bottle at me, and they're yelling. This is the first time I get called the N-word.
Mhm.
And they're yelling and screaming because where I grew up, black people and white people was poor. So like I went to a blackity black school. I remember one white kid who I used to defend because he got bullied, he was just an undersized kid. This kid named Tommy. He was like this
Mhm.
undersized kid. He was small, but it was just a black school. So I had never really. So I'm hearing this stuff. I don't know what's going on. I'm
Right.
pedaling my heart out, trying to get. They're behind me in the truck. They're throwing bottles at me and stuff. Yep. I don't know what's going on. I rush in the house. I'm crying to my mom and everything. And mom, that was my first experience.
That's when
So
you have
I
to talk. Yeah.
understand. I understand. It's like I just wanted to be a kid. I just wanted to ride my bike.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ride my bike on a beautiful day. And like that, kid's
It
gone.
was gone.
Kid's
Yeah,
gone.
it was gone.
Just like with Vic, kid's gone. It's it. It's over.
Yeah.
You're not a kid no more. Now, I
Yeah.
mean, you can still
And-
ride your bike, and I still rode my bike. But when I rode my bike, did I ride my bike like? No. Now I have to
it
ride
was
my
like-
bike like. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because if I ever see that truck again, I have to dip. I have to dip through the backyard of this neighborhood. I mean,
Uh-huh.
this house, and go behind that house and stuff like that. You can't be a kid now no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where when he said that, I was just like, yeah, this is a great episode, but I don't know if I can watch this again.
Yeah. Again,
Because usually I'll run an episode back, you know, because you might miss something. You might miss a phrase or something that happens, something like that. You know, like say I might be like eating something, or you know, walk across the room to get something and just come right back, and you might miss something. But this one, I was just like, nah, I think I'll watch it this one time, and that'll be enough. Like between the
Yeah.
cliff stuff, when he said, when the lady said there was a girl in the car, I was like, what? And then the
Yeah.
thing with Vic, and the thing with Jane, and then, like you said, Larry is probably the most well-adjusted of them all.
Well, he's the
Larry
one
was
that's
like,
coming along.
hey mom, look,
best.
hey mom, look,
Yeah.
is what it is. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but this is just who I am. I
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from, but I just need you to understand where I'm coming from, and we can just be cool, you over there and me cool over here. And
Right.
Larry was fine. Larry was like, I'm gonna go get my slug and wrap up my slug. That would be cool.
You know. But yeah, so yeah, and now I guess that brings us to Rita, huh? You know,
Yeah. The
'cause-
time looper, this also brings into question the first two seasons to a certain degree. Cause I'm like, hold up. So, all right. So did this happen for you? This has already happened for you. Like, or it's
for her, yes,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
of
'cause
the
I'm like-
nature of the time loop, all that time she spent in Niles's house, this her has been with the Sisterhood of Dada.
yeah.
And she didn't know about it because it hadn't happened to her yet. I liked a lot. I really liked that when she came back, she got her memories back, but she didn't lose the memories from 1917. I thought that was very well done. And that whole confrontation with the villain thing happening, where it's like,
the
or maybe you're
Rouge.
realizing that you're evil. And I'm like, well, she ain't good. Not entirely, you know. But it actually made me wonder, did the other members of the sisterhood have to go through their own flatulations?
Good question.
Because it looked a lot like Rita was trying to lead them away from doing that stuff. You know, it's like, no, just come here with me. I don't want you guys hurt in all this. And they're like, no, there's beer back there, you know. And, you know, and I'm like, I guess she's trying to save her friends. But here's my big thing, and Hannibal and I might butt heads on this.
All right.
I fully support the eternal flagellation. Fully support. I wish it would happen. I really would. Like that whole time I'm like, oh my God, that's the thing they're doing? That, oh my, yes.
You're talking about worldwide breakthroughs, but there's no guarantee. It's kind of like the Morpheus thing. I can just walk you through the door. I can't guarantee what it's going to be like on the other side for you.
Oh, I get it. I mean, I don't think
the eternal flatulation is great. You're like, oh man, breakthroughs and talking to your subconscious and seeing what's really wrong inside you and everything. It sounds good. But if you have to go through it, everybody might not think it's as great.
Well, as I said,
especially we're in Los Angeles.
It about every month.
But we're in LA. There's a whole lot of people running from themselves. A whole lot of people.
That's exactly my point. Can you imagine the eternal flagellation set loose in the halls of Congress? Oh my God. That would just, because there's
I mean, it would be good, but then it would be, the fallout would be crazy.
But there are three possibilities that come from it. And this is where the story lacks. Okay, this is right here where the story lacks. Because we saw the breakthrough. We saw the people that looked at themselves and heard. And that's all it's for. It's like, this is so that you can know who you really are and you can stop lying to yourself. Okay? And the Doom Patrol saw who they really were. They didn't lie to themselves. And they, for the most part, are choosing to come to terms with what they were lying to themselves about. That's one. The second possible reaction they didn't show, which are the people that keep running. The people that do not come to terms with themselves, the ones that refuse to see the truth, but they're the ones that stay in that catatonic state. And then there's the third part, the third that they didn't cover at all, which are the people that see the truth about themselves, who see their own evil and own it. We are talking about the real villains. We're talking about the Aaron from Titus Andronicus, whose last words were, all right, I guess this is the part where I'm supposed to repent my sins. Fine. If ever a good deed in my life I did, I repent it from my soul. They haven't shown those people.
Yeah, that's true. Because we're dealing with the more enlightened side of dealing with trauma. We're not dealing with those as the ones that are like, hurt people. And I like hurting people because it makes me feel better. And I'm not changing it because I don't want to feel bad anymore. I like hurting others. You know, I've been hurting others so much, this long. I like it. And I'm gonna stay right here. And
now, I honestly believe that when it comes to that particular thing, the people that say it aren't trying to convince you. They're trying to hold on to that. But there is a very small part of the population who genuinely do feel that way. You know, the Michael Myers is out there, the Hannibal Lecter's out there.
Yeah.
You know, the real, true, and honest villains. And in truth, I'm with it. I am 100% with it. Like I said, this episode is my favorite one of the show. This is literally an all-in, a four of a kind. I'm like, this is. I need to put on my red valet's jacket and hook up with my boy, because I'm like, man, and then they were like, screw you. This is my jam right here.
That was, everybody had their moment where they kind of came to a zenith of their experience. Now, the question is, now that we've seen Rita and Madame Rouge come, head up, we'll see what happens. I think we have 2 episodes left.
Yeah, 2 episodes left of the season.
2 left. You know what I'm saying? We got 2 left, y'all. But with that said, love it. Might not be able to watch it again, but I love it. So right over here, Solar Gray, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on twitch.tv/BID_P.
Yep.
Monday through Friday at 3 p.m., where I take you to the dark side of the room and we talk about the deep stuff when it comes to our hobbies. We're talking how comic books and board games and role-playing games and cosplay and all the crafts and all that stuff actually apply to the things that you go to in life. So join us for that Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Today, excuse me.
That's 6 for y'all in New York, so I know most of y'all are at home. And that is, you can hit me up on the Twitter, the Instagram, and if you guys ever need eye bleach, just head on over to TikTok at BidP. Yeah, because again, best episode ever. It hurts. I need to laugh afterwards. Head on over to at BidP, that's BIDPY, on TikTok, where you can see the musical stylings of Lil Saul. Because, again, stuff like this hurts. It hurts, but it's a good pain. It's like the pain that comes after working out, You know what? Yeah, you're like, hey, I've grown. Mm-hmm. You're like, I've grown. I feel better. I've grown. My great grandmother used to tell me there is no such thing as growth without pain. Yeah. And our aversion to pain keeps us from growing at the rate that we could. And I'm like, man, what were they teaching in 1892 that they ain't teaching in the 70s? What's going on? So. But that's what's up. So, of course, guys, big shout out to the chat. Thomas D, Jenna James, Perp Minded came through, Clever Little Vixen. I think I said Thomas D already. And Alan Lewis. Alan Lewis might have been yesterday. I think Alan Lewis was yesterday. So, of course, NERD, SOUL, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those places. Hit that thumbs up. You like what you're seeing, hit that thumbs down. If you don't, but make sure to subscribe, share it. They say sharing is caring, all right? So do you care? Do you care? No. Anyway. Anyway, guys, we're going to leave y'all with PL Parker Lewis and ARCKATRON. Tonight we have NERDSoul Sports and Open Mind hit me up. That's right. Sensei hollered at me. So we will be playing some. Man. I think we played Streets of Rage last time. Maybe I'll work with this new patch. Maybe I'll play Guilty Gear tonight. But we're going to be talking about King of Fighters 15 on the way. I haven't played a King of Fighters game in a long time, but I am interested to see how this game is. It looks pretty, so we're going to get into it and talk about it tonight. So, with that said, for us to you, thank you for watching, and peace. Yeah.
I'm the man, yes sir, that killed the bare-handed so the people won't forget it. Getting money for I would label the drink. I care what a broke nigga think.
Just like the pack of Lewis.
Look, everything I do so cold. I can do this, both eyes closed. Too short, I stay on my toes. About that guap boy, anything goes. Help the bear if we outside. Help the bear if we outside. Still tipping, baby, nothing changed. We still grinding over here, yeah. Still sliding through my own lane. Shorty, nothing funny over here. Dallas rain everywhere around me. Dream to get money. Made it through the storm, living sunny. Dreams came true, now we eating. I got more dreams to chase, gotta reach them. Trying to put a team together like the Hunger Games. Everybody grinding cause we all came from under pain.